Hello, and welcome to Bot Boundaries, where we explore what it means to be human in the age of AI. In this episode, we're digging into AI's impact on the entertainment industry, starting with how it's reshaping production and continuing through the efficient resource decisions teams are making in post production. We're also looking at how AI innovation showed up at the Winter Olympics, and we'll also have a little fun with our red flag, green flag segment. Was that AI? Our pop culture spin on spotting AI. So today, as always, I'm joined with my awesome co-host, Katie Wilson. Hey there, Katie.
Hey there, Jackie. Good to be here. Excited to cover this topic.
Awesome. So I recently attended an entrepreneurship and innovation event at USC that brought together university leaders, VCs, and city officials to talk about where Los Angeles is headed economically and industry wise. And it got me thinking about our topic today, especially since, the entertainment industry is one of LA County's major economic engines. So let's start by getting a feel for the landscape, what's really happening in the industry, and where the pressure points really are. The entertainment industry has reinvented itself countless times over its history, from production shifting to new cities and reshaping the economy of Los Angeles to the massive disruption of the COVID-19 pandemic when theaters closed, festivals were canceled, and film releases were delayed worldwide. Then there's the rise of streaming. By the mid 2010s, binge watching culture exploded. Cable subscriptions began to fall. I finally canceled my cable, which is
Oh,
crazy. Did you? Do you have cable?
we have YouTube TV,
Okay.
but so that's like our cable that we have
Yeah.
like most channels on.
Yeah, that was I was happy to do it. Sorry,
hmm
cable companies. Anyway, so the rise of streaming, cable subscriptions began to fall and studios started rethinking release strategies. And by the late 2010s and early 2020s, streaming had become the dominant force, reshaping budgets, production schedules, and even how stories are written. And now, layered on top of all that change, the industry is facing its next transformation, the growing influence of AI. So the entertainment industry now really stands at a crossroads. Traditional film production has always been expensive, time consuming, and resource intensive. And a single feature film can take years to complete and cost hundreds of millions of dollars. But artificial intelligence could be rewriting some of those rules, offering studios more efficient tools to cut costs, accelerate timelines, and push creative production boundaries in ways that seemed even impossible a few years ago. So, to dive in, let's first talk about AI in production. During actual filming, there are AI powered cameras that can track actors automatically, adjust focus in real time, and even suggest optimal camera angles based on the scene's emotional content. That's pretty cool.
That's great.
Directors can preview complex special effects on set instantly, making creative decisions without waiting for post production teams to render test footage. This immediate feedback loop eliminates costly reshoots and keeps production moving forward at a new level of speed. And then in post production, that's possibly where the most dramatic acceleration has been experienced. We even see it in our agency with our video
Yeah.
production and even the production of this podcast. AI tools have really changed the game and just really making it so much easier to bring things to market. AI tools can now perform color grading, audio mixing, and initial editing passes that previously required weeks of specialized labor. That's where we're seeing it. Like video editing is
hmm
really becoming more efficient with use of AI, but you got to have a human in the loop, as we always say. Machine learning algorithms can identify the best takes from hours of footage, flagging moments with optimal lighting, sound quality, and actor performance. What once demanded teams of editors working around the clock can now be accomplished by smaller crews working smarter, not harder. But beyond speed and savings, something we always talk about, AI opens creative doors that were previously locked, but there's always a flip side. But On the positive side, directors can experiment with different visual styles, test alternative story structures, and explore creative choices without committing massive resources before production even starts. Definitely, we're all seeing AI being a really good tool for the ideation phase before you go into actual production on any creative project. And yeah, so like we always say, there's always a flip side to artificial creativity. So let's talk about some of the things to look out for on the creative side. AI slop. We talk about that a lot, and generic feeling content. Because these models that we're all leveraging, either directly or in the software that we're using, they're all trained on existing internet data. And so they often produce derivative, unoriginal, and kind of formulaic feeling content, often referred to as AI slop, which is not what anyone that is leading creative is looking for, or any of the studios are looking for, and really what the audience wants to see. Another issue can be the absence of storytelling. AI generators lack a fundamental understanding of narrative, pacing, and emotional resonance. They predict patterns rather than creating intentional stories that humans can do by pulling from experience and adding originality to rework even some of the known formulas that can be repurposed. So another thing to look out for when we're using these automation tools in our creative projects is emotional disconnect. That can happen due to the lack of human direction. AI generated content can feel cold, insincere, sometimes flat, lacking the authenticity that really makes connections with viewers. And last, there's high editing requirements. While AI promises speed, the need for extensive post-production to fix glitches, unnatural movements, and subtle editing errors can sometimes result in higher resource costs than traditional production. So yeah, sometimes it works, but then sometimes if you just let automation fly, you're really going back and fixing a lot of things if you're really not thinking it through before unleashing these tools. This is something that I manage every day in our work. AI is totally helpful in many places, but it still misses the mark in a lot of places too, and is really not replacing humans, at least not today. The quality of whatever you're generating with AI is something Katie and I talk about a lot, and will likely continue to bring it up. For me, especially as an agency owner, where protecting my clients' brand standards is everything. I mean, it's just the baseline of everything we do. Using AI primarily to speed up low bar routine tasks or in more complex digital tasks, using an AI tool only in portions of these higher stakes creative workflows is the right approach, rather than allowing AI to replace an entire creative process.
Yeah.
It's crucial in order to produce the highest quality creative work and not dilute the outcome of a project, and continuing to preserve the integrity and the performance of the work that we're creating. Like just this week, we were testing a blend of AI and human workflows internally on a short form video project. And after some time, we realized we could just grab a camera and go to the location and shoot really quick, then do a quick edit, back at the office, and all that might be faster than editing the AI slop output that was being generated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, of course, we could actually do that because the location was local. But if it wasn't local, then using AI in this use case could have been the better option. And that's actually something we really, want to be able to do as long as the technology really improves. And I think it will. So those are the kind of creative decisions, creatives are managing at the moment. It's totally fun to use these tools, but, challenging all at the same time. So, we're just experiencing all of that right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a big shift in the industry and for people's skill set, I think. Getting up to speed with the AI tools, using them correctly, not overusing AI. And I think that's where people are finding that balance, especially in editing or video production.
Yeah, there's actually a skill of the human that needs to be paired with these tools, and you can't really have them separated.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, along with AI's impact on the entertainment industry, it's also worth looking at the way people consume this content and how that's shifted, because that shift is exactly what's making room for more technology in the mix. The big question now is what trends are emerging on the business side of entertainment and how the industry is responding to the way audiences watch video today, which is changing. So we all love streaming. It's our go-to way to watch movies now. Most adults stream a new release at home in the past year, while a majority still visit the theater at least once. So streaming wins for sure, but theaters still matter. Studios are shortening theatrical windows and leaning into more premium at-home rentals, PVOD or video on demand, you might hear it referred to. So viewers don't have to choose between theater or home. So what that might look like is a new release comes out for 2 weeks in theaters only. People who are really excited to see it on the big screen or an IMAX and other things will go. And then maybe a month later, you might see it on demand for more expensive, and then it will get less expensive as time goes on, and then it'll eventually hit streaming. So I know this all the time because my kids are asking, like, when is this coming to streaming? And I'll have to check. But usually that's the cycle. So shortening those windows mean there's maybe less time in theaters, which, filmmakers and folks that like things on film and want people to go to the theaters to experience that might have a say in that. So it'll be interesting to see how that shifts over time and contracts that timeline. And audience habits are really fragmenting. Younger and higher income viewers are more likely to mix streaming and theater trips. So distribution strategies are becoming more of a hybrid. Younger viewers have more time. If you're higher income, you have more resources to go to see the theater. So there is still people doing that hybrid approach, and they need to market to them in both ways. Data and personalization are really central. So services and cinemas are using viewing analytics to tailor recommendations, marketing, driving more targeted campaigns and higher engagement. And theater experiences are evolving. I think this one's really key. And we're seeing more immersive venues, premium formats, think like large scale high tech venues like the Sphere in Vegas, where you're really going in more of like a theater experience. The prices are high, but the experience is different, seeing the Wizard of Oz in an immersive environment versus a theater, for example. And they're trying to be used to offer something that home setups can't replicate. So I think that's an important point. So bottom line is the industry is moving from a one-size-fits-all release model to a mix of shorter windows, premium at-home options, and experience-driven theatrical events, all powered by better audience data. Another way AI is showing up is in sports. So right now we have the Winter Olympics. I've been watching it a lot with my kids, and Peacock actually made it very easy to do that. If you have
totally,
Peacock.
that was nice.
Yeah. So I think it's a really good example of it's a shared moment in global entertainment. Sports are one of the most valuable legs of entertainment. This year, AI is really shaping that experience in different ways, not just for the athletes, but for fans and everyone behind the scenes. So a few ways AI we saw showing up in the games. So number one is judging. In sports, where a fraction of a point matters, AI-assisted video analysis helps officials review rotations, landings, form with much more precision. In figure skating, for example, computer vision can confirm whether a skater actually completed the required rotations. And you saw this as an overlay a lot on NBC. They would show kind of like what they're seeing and the counts and the requirements. So that's really cool as viewers to be able to see that. And translation, right? Where this is a world event with athletes from all over the world speaking different languages. They're coming from everywhere. AI translation tools are making communication way easier. Samsung is equipping volunteers with phones to do on-device translation, even in weak service areas like the mountains, so they can answer questions regardless of language. And performance analysis. So coaches and teams are using AI to measure jump height, takeoff, angles, movement patterns in events like ski jumping, half pipe, getting different insights to refine their technique. So this could be before the games and during the games, and I'm sure they're all looking at it after the games to analyze their performance. So yeah, I found a lot of that really interesting in terms of how is tech blending with sports. And brands were showing up there too. Alibaba's Wonder on Ice at the Milano Cortina 2026 games is a neat example. It was set in Milan's Piazza del Castello against the Castello Strofosico. It turns a historic public space into an interactive demo on how digital tech can enable personalized virtual retail. So the snow globe style pavilion guides visitors through an AI curated virtual shopping experience tailored to their interests. And it sounds pretty cool. And with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles in 2028, using more than 80 existing top tier venues like SoFi Stadium, the Rose Bowl, the LA Memorial Coliseum, the city itself is in deep preparation with a transit first approach that's accelerating major infrastructure projects. If you've been to LA recently, you've definitely seen that. organizing the many visitors is a feat for sure to get everyone where they need to go. In a city full of creatives, it's going to be really fascinating to see how technology is going to be used to automate and create memorable experiences in LA. So yeah, I'm really excited for the Olympics in LA too. It'll be interesting to see if AI is even more a part of there, and helping with fairness, accessibility, how we watch and interact with live events while operating new ways for fans to brands to connect. And as always, in the AI space and technology in general, ethical and trust based concerns are important for brands and for all of us working with technology to be mindful of. So, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast when we're thinking about
Mhm.
AI and entertainment. And we'll talk about this I'm sure, in later episodes as well, from maybe a legal standpoint, which is interesting. So, first, we have deep fakes and misinformation. So, the ease of just creating these hyper realistic fabricated videos, it posed a risk for spread of disinformation, unauthorized use of a person's likeness. So I don't know if you saw the video where they had like Brad Pitt fighting Tom Cruise. It came
I
out
haven't
in
seen
like
that.
seconds. Yeah, it was from ByteDance, I think,
Mm.
the previously on TikTok, and they put it out and it looked very realistic. And immediately, I'm sure the studios were getting them to take it down, but they were showing it as an example of how quickly you can do a deep fake. And they even had them talk and interact. And,
Wow.
if I just saw that right off the bat, not knowing it was AI, I might not know that. Like,
Mm.
it was pretty crazy. Another place to be aware of trust is AI generated content becomes more common. Audiences are becoming more skeptical,
For sure.
potentially devaluing video content that may have missed the mark. So even if something is an AI, they could say, "Oh, that looks like AI." There's all these things online where is it AI, is it not? So I think people are getting a little more skeptical of what they see, which isn't a bad thing when we talk about social media and videos produced there. But for real content, it could be a bad thing if you produce great content and people are like, "Oh, this is just AI," and you spend a lot of time shooting that.
Yeah, I think the question we come back to a lot and we haven't necessarily landed on a definitive answer is, are brands using AI to just attract the shock value?
Mm,
And, because when you use AI and it's kind of shocking and weird to look at, it does attract an audience, but is that hurting or helping the brand? And that's the
yeah.
big question.
Yeah, or devaluing that brand for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also being aware of biased outputs. So AI models are trained on biased data sets and it can perpetuate stereotypes, resulting in content that's exclusionary or even discriminatory at worst. So definitely something to keep aware of as a creative and a creator of content. And all of this, from trust, quality concerns with the rise of new tools, really comes down to a couple big risks for larger brands. Brand risk is the first one. Low quality or off-brand AI content can really hurt credibility, which is what you were just saying, Jackie. Like, a big share of the consumers say AI generated videos actually lower their perception of the brand overall.
Hmm.
So that's super important to think about. The other major factor is legal uncertainty, like the Tom Cruise video I was saying, since so much AI is trained on copyrighted material, which makes ownership and commercial use a little murky right now. So if you're creating something and it looks like something else, how much of that look and feel is copyrighted versus not, it's really hard to say right now. And I think that's going to be continue to come up. Obviously, if you're using someone's likeness, that's a very straightforward copyright violation.
Yeah.
But if you're putting it saying like, I want to make this clip in the style of a Wes Anderson movie, then is that a copyright or is that
Hmm.
not? So I think it gets a little tricky when we think about how we're creating content with AI when we're trying to make it like something else. So really just some things to be aware of as we're all using these new tools. I think it's really interesting to see the amount of content and technology that's coming out. And I think we can all agree there's some really great use cases like
Yeah.
judging in the Olympics, technology in the Olympics, great. The sphere in Vegas, immersive experience is great. AI slop and devaluing brand, not so
Not so
great.
great. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting now we're really starting to talk a little bit more about as a collective, I think about the visual side of it. And I think we'll probably start to possibly see some more legal issues with that.
Yeah.
When in the early stages of these LLMs rolling out, it was more about where they're sourcing their written content. And with OpenAI, they had a lawsuit from existing writers and I think publications, online publications, how OpenAI was really training their models in the early stage just by scraping a ton of existing content that they didn't own. So, there was a lawsuit on that. I think that was early 2025. And so I think we'll start to see more of that maybe in the visual side of creative. So
Yeah, for
interesting, right?
sure.
It's always changing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think, people are starting to pick up on it more, and we'll talk about that in the red flags, green flags. But I
Yes.
think, it does serve a risk to devalue things. But it also can be, something that people talk about if you do it in a clever way, not so much like
Yeah.
something that's totally off brand.
Yeah, that reminds me of that. What was that one ad from that fitness brand that we talked about a few
Oh,
episodes ago?
it was the chain in LA. I'm blanking on it now. But yeah, where they used AI generated images, but then also like
And it
real
was
bodies.
obviously over the top
Yeah, they did it on
and
purpose.
ridiculous. So that was
Yeah.
kind of effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
liked that
agree.
one.
I like that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So getting into this topic, into our fun segment, red flag, green flag. Um, so much is evolving in entertainment and the technology that's moving into the new era. We're seeing it all over the place as consumers. So first in our red flag, green flag segment was that AI. Let's talk
Mm.
about the Kardashians use AI. The moment in question happens in season 7 when Kim calls Chloe while getting ready for the Met Gala. At the time, Chloe was filming an episode of her Chloe in Wonderland podcast with Courtney. TikTok users noted that Chloe's smile seemed to change shape abruptly, and a cross necklace morphed into a circular pendant and then a bar shape. From what I could see when I watched this clip, it's when she looks toward the camera, her entire face looks pretty computer generated out of
Yeah.
nowhere. So was that AI or some other tool? I'm not sure, but something was definitely artificial. So Katie, red flag or green flag for filling in short clips in your favorite shows?
I think it's still a red flag. It doesn't look I'm sure I think it's like a filter or something. It's not like the AI generated her. She's
Right.
there talking. It's something in the editing of it that they maybe tried to filter something or add something. So I don't know. It just looks, yeah, it looks a little uncanny valley. It looks not great. I think that's like another one where we need to be careful when we're editing and using AI tools.
Yeah, I'm like green flag to use it on short little
Sure.
clips, but red
Yeah.
flag on this example, it was not done well. The
Mhm.
quality standards really fell short. So,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. All right. Now let's look at an example of AI in political videos. So, AI video tools are great for creativity, but the implications got serious fast, especially in spaces where people need clarity, like politics. So, deep fakes could mimic politicians' voices, create fabricated scenarios, and too often they're brushed off as, oh, that was just for fun or it was just satire, even though the fallout can be very real if someone believes it to be true. And it's happening across the aisle. So, here are some examples. There's so many, but let's focus on this one. In January of this year, Attorney General Ken Paxton of Texas shared a video using some AI showing his Republican primary opponent, Senator John Cornyn, dancing with a Democratic U.S. Rep. Jasmine Crockett of Dallas. The video was published by Paxton in his social media accounts, including a disclaimer about the AI generated content at the end of the video. But the AI generation was pretty over the top in the way it completely generated a fabricated scenario rather than using AI to enhance something that's rooted in reality. So, red flag, green flag, Jackie, using AI to produce content that will likely go directly to voters.
red flag on this one, but unfortunately it's really become out of control. It's become a monster that I'm not sure how we're going to reel it back in and control
I
it,
know.
at this point. And I even a red flag on paid political influencer marketing where the paid influencers are not disclosing compensation. Giant red flag there. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm fine with automation AI being used, in a portion of something, but this completely fabricated scenarios, I'm just a red flag on that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a red flag too, but I think it's interesting to think like about parody, right? Where like political cartoons, or now you can use
Right.
AI to make a parody video of something like so, like to your point, so over the top and ridiculous. Like the video of Donald Trump playing hockey. It's like, okay, that we all know that's fake, it's stupid, but whatever. But like, where do we draw the line if like people are actually in an election and campaigning and you're doing it to like disparage your opponent? Even if it is over the top, do they like draw a red line? And I think that's where regulation comes in with we need more like federal and state regulation for voting committees to like come in and say that's not acceptable in advertising or in social media use and you have to take it down. But unfortunately, once something's shared, other people can share it. And it's really hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
Definitely. That's the problem. All right. Well, red flag. We did a lot of red flags there this time.
Yes.
Well, cool. So to wrap up, everyone, the entertainment industry has always reinvented itself, but the last decade has been especially in flux. And now AI is changing how work gets done by boosting efficiency and cutting costs. We're all feeling those shifts regardless of industry. And the real question is how humans steer these tools so they amplify creativity, protect brand and cultural value, and open new opportunities for artists and audiences alike. We're all deciding that role together, and we'll all figure out what role we play in the future of shaping that future together. Oh, so good seeing you today, Katie. Just a reminder, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn under Katie Wilson or my business, Serious Moonlight Consulting. Also on Instagram at Serious Moonlight Consulting. And how about you, Jackie?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn at Jackie Gutierrez and on Instagram and TikTok at Business Growth Gal. And follow Bot Boundaries on at Bot Boundaries on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube and LinkedIn. So thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on all platforms and YouTube. Good seeing you today,
You could
Katie.
see you. Bye.